You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear.
Hey, welcome back to the Shoe In Show. Thanks for joining us today. I have no doubt that many of you are enjoying a lovely pumpkin spice latte as we enter into fall, even though these pumpkin spice lattes started coming out when it was still like 90 degrees out. But that's okay. People want to lean into the cold, and that's what happens. One of the things we like to do on this show is take a global look at what's happening. And footwear, Matt, is just, there's so many changes taking place, and so many places are innovating and updating based on both challenges and new opportunities. One of those locations is Brazil. And I know many people have been down to Brazil in the past, may still be sourcing out of Brazil, still working with Brazilian companies. A lot of people are buying, Brazilian branded footwear in the U.S. But there's a shift and a change taking place in Brazil, just like many other places around the world. And I think we want to get into that today and understand that a little bit better, because there might be some really great opportunities for many of our members and many brands out there to take a closer look at what's occurring. So with that, who we got on today to kind of help us explore the Brazil 4.0, maybe we'll say Brazil 4.0.
Yeah, great tie in, Andy, and lead up to our conversation today with our friends in Brazil. We have on with us live from Brazil in the south of the country. We'll learn more about where, who they represent and where they're located. But Karin Becker is commercial manager, and Christian Thomas, who's a shoemaker and a consultant and kind of a knowledgeable guy who's worked with many American brands. Karin and Christian, I want to welcome you to Shoe In Show. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to a really fun conversation.
Hello, guys. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you. And we hope we can have a very nice conversation about what's going on here and the opportunities we have with the USA market through FDRA. So thank you for having us.
Also, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. I think we have, let's say, as you just mentioned, we have a different situation in Brazil right now. And for sure, Brazil is not the same that we used to be in the past, but we still have a value proposition to offer to the US market. So thank you for the opportunity. We are here to try to show something about that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Karin, I'll start with you, and then Andy and I will kind of go back and forth with questions. But Karin, you're the commercial manager. Talk to us about the association that you help manage, where it's located. What are some of those strategically strong things that you bring to the table as it relates to footwear production in Brazil? Help educate our listeners as to what the value proposition is there in Brazil.
Great. Well, we have this Brazilian Footwear Alliance in our cluster here in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, and we call ourselves Pacto Calçadista. We are a group of people, representing industries which mean all the stakeholders, involved in production of the shoes. So we mean with that, we are talking about not only the industries which produce shoes, but all the supply chain, all the service involved on that. And since we have so much impact on geopolitical changes in the world, we see we have a great opportunity to offer our services as shoe producers, shoemakers, from south of Brazil to the USA, especially considering all the changes, regarding compliance, logistic, and all of that. So we call ourselves, the Pacto Calçadista from the state of Rio Grande do Sul.
So, Christian, you've worked with a lot of companies. Claire's comes to mind. You have a history of being a shoemaker. and an advisor and someone working within a Western or U.S. based brand, I should say. What are some of those advantages? Karin just kind of spoke to them, but as someone who's making footwear, what are some of those advantages that our listeners need to be aware of?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am a shoemaker for 43 years already here in Brazil. And as you just mentioned, I used to work with US brands. I worked with Vince Camilo, for example, for 8 years. And uh, on the time that we still used to have big volumes being produced in Brazil. Situation is much different right now, but because we don't have there is no way to compete with Asian prices, you know. So that is the reason that what we were trying to do in Brazil is to reposition our products in the US market. And this is something really interesting. And part of this value proposition is that we have design to offer. There are more than 60 brands from domestic factories in Brazil are presenting their shoes at the shoe shows in Europe. And as you well know, all the designers from all around the world used to go to Europe to see what is going to be presented there for the MICAM and also for at the Garda shoe show. So Brazilian is already doing that. So based on that, we still think that it's possible for us to also to present the domestic brands for the US markets. We know that the American brands are not going to buy the shoes as it is, right? But we have constructions already adopted by the factories. We have the hardware developed, you know. So what we can do with that is showing that the collections that we are doing in Brazil try to work as a co-development, you know, using constructions, using lasts. Of course, we are going to work in a correct size run with half sizes for the American markets because we don't use half sizes in Brazil, but we can adopt that for the US market. Based on that, also, we choose, let's say, already developed. We are going to have a shorter lead time. You know, since the day that we get the orders, till the day that we extract the shoes, we are going to have, let's say, 45 to 60 days, which is something important also for the market because we know how important it is to have the shoes earlier at the stores, right? Then we are also available for minimum quantities. We don't need to. We are capable to work with smaller orders. Let's say 2,000 pairs, 2,000 pairs, 1,000 pairs. You know, to test and react at the stores. You know, so doing this way, we can give to the market shoes with the right design, with the right materials, because we also have a supply chain in Brazil developing textiles, leathers, outsoles, and heels accordingly to the trends. You know, so this is something that we can offer from Brazil right now. Also important to say that the transit time is also shorter. This for a obvious reason, right? So you know, this is really something that we can offer right now. Design, fresh items, a shorter lead time. We are not going to be competitive with Asian prices, but we are going to be competitive in terms of design and in terms of lead time and transit time for the American market.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that approach. That mentality of saying, okay, like we don't need to race to the bottom, right? Like we want to actually have quality product that actually sells in the marketplace. And I think um, that is different than what we've heard in the past from a lot of sourcing countries of trying to reposition themselves. So it's refreshing to hear that. I would also point out if it's coming from Brazil into the European market, you're not going through the Red Sea where you're having shipping times that are months at a time sitting there trying to get through with supply chain attacks. So obviously a lot of our members sell into Europe as well. But what is interesting to me is hearing you talk about that, I automatically think about product innovation in the marketplace. And one of the things we've been struggling with in the US market over the last 6 months, 12 months is, you know, we look at the annual sales, whether it's spring or summer or back to school, and all the product looks the exact same as it did last year. And it's becoming, obviously, over the last several weeks and months, the market in the U.S. has gotten a little bit better in terms of sales. But the complaint continues to be, in some ways, that our product innovation and our look and our feel and our styles are a little bit kind of blunted. They're a little bit just kind of blasé. And this idea that you could do these limited product runs and get them into the market to try to, put something on the shelf that's a little bit more interesting and dynamic, I think is a very interesting proposition that brands and retailers could really look at and consider, as a quick way to kind of put some more pep in the stores, I guess, put a different look in the stores. And doing that in a quick way and an agile way is something, I think is very compelling. So it's just very interesting to hear you guys talk about that in that way of basically trying to, instead of trying to sell large quantities, you're saying, like, what do you want and where can we help fill in your most needs, and try to provide solutions that fit with what you're looking for, not so much try to sell you, scale or anything like that. So for me, it's very interesting to hear that.
And to add to all of this, which you're saying, there is a whole industry, and this is very important as a cluster. We have the complete, structure to provide shoes in here. We do not depend at this moment from Asia. So and also there is a very good advantage when we talk about sustainability, which is a very strong issue
Mm.
at the moment, and all the component industry is working on that. We can say recyclable materials, biodegradable materials. All the component industry is already working, thinking about that, and we understand that is a very important issue to the American market, to the American customers, and to all the brands that source their shoes around the globe. And another very important issue, I believe, is the thing with compliance in terms of chemical products, and we have a lot of legislation on the globe, let's say about REACH, Proposition 65, Affirm, CPSC, and all these compliance questions about chemical products. And our industry here in Brazil is really used to working with that. And we have like great arrangements already in place, which means that we have lower costs on testing nowadays. So I think nowadays that's really some kind of distinction, that we can offer from the products made in Brazil, specifically talking about our cluster here, but we can talk about Brazil as well.
Yeah, I think that's a part of that is like the sourcing risk calculation, right? The forced labor issues that we see in Asia, specifically in China, is a big challenge and a big fear headache to many companies to try to manage. But what you're saying is you kind of have a package deal where all that's taken care of, right? You come down, you look at the style, you like it, you want to order the quantity, the compliance is going to be taken care of, the chemical safety will be taken care of. You can choose sustainable materials that you can incorporate and not have to worry whether they are actually sustainable or not. Oftentimes in Asia, they're positioned as sustainable, but you have to do a lot of testing to make sure that that's accurate. What one big thing I think people are always interested in terms of Brazil is the currency issues, cost issues around that, where currency fluctuations may occur. What's the stability in terms of like your cluster, like working with companies around like making sure there's a kind of a leveling effect of those costs going up or down, very volatile.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation actually,
Yeah.
because we don't have, we cannot say that we are, let's say, I'm it's missing the word actually, because we don't have this the any way to promise you that the
Yeah.
taxes will be the same all the time,
Right.
because we are changing governance. This is a tricky, actually, tricky subject to try to explain, because Brazil is something. Sometimes we don't understand what's going on at the government, But
Yeah.
what we are trying to do here is to do the best that we can in terms of products, in terms of compliance, in terms of sustainability. But say something about the government and about the taxes and
That's
Yeah.
that way. Make like a positive approach to it. Let's say that Brazilian market is used to these ups and downs in our politics, right? That's something that I mean I was born with. Since I was born, it's just the same. It's like a roller coaster. So what I can say now, I think our factories are more mature in terms of that. Let's say, as you mentioned before, and Matt as well, we have a lot of brands, Brazilian brands selling globally, like selling in USA market, selling in Europe, and like we can mention many of them, which are really like players established on the global market. And with that, we know the prices. We know the price ranges we need to reach. So what happens is, I believe, from this point of view, sometimes you're going to be selling more sandals. Some other times you're going to be selling, like sneakers, which are very popular and is just a trend. So I would like to say, and I could tell you that from my occupation, the place I've
Mm.
been working for 11 years now, I work in testing, solutions, for compliance. And I could say the market is kind of adapt to work with the price range, with the product of the hour. It's like, when you go to the grocery store and it's like apple season, otherwise it's like banana, other times it's
Yeah.
like banana season.
Yeah.
I think our industry is like playing, around to work with that, instead of focusing on taxes and currency, we are more
Yeah.
like looking into like season. What's the season
I think
price? So we are a year-round sandal producer, and that's
I think it's
something.
very it's very compelling what you're saying, because I think some people in the U.S. market will just look at the currency. And what you're saying is you can't just look at the currency anymore. You need to go down, because there's opportunities to find different product types.
From the point of view, from the point where I am really now, we don't see the business like going like two up and two down. It has its ups and downs, but not so influenced because of currency. And more because of other aspects. So that's why we are here. Actually, that's the reason why we are here. That's the reason why we form this alliance in the south, because we start to understand that we have other things to offer other than the currency. We don't have that.
Mhm.
The price, lower prices, we don't have that, but we have a lot of other things which are compelling, to work with the USA markets. I would, rather focus on this positive aspect, and that's something really, it's like our reality.
Mhm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that. So I think as we used to say, actually, when we are working with the factories, that we need to focus on products, on materials, on delivery. And it's difficult when things are not in our hands. So currency is not in our hands. It's something that the government is going to say that it's going to be this way, or the market is going to define that. But once we are focused, and that's the reason that I agree with Karin, when we are focused on products and on the things that we have inside the factories, inside the business, this is what we have to do, and this is the value proposition that we have right now. We don't need to focus on that, because otherwise we're going to get crazy here. So we need to focus on the product and everything else that is around that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's really smart of you. And I think that a lot of companies right now are realizing the race to the bottom is not sustainable, whether you're in Asia or in the Western Hemisphere. And so they're starting to take a look back into the Western Hemisphere for those reasons, Christian, that you outlined, right? The speed to market, there's shared cultural values. We don't talk a lot about that, but We have shared values with the Brazilians, with the Mexicans, other democratically elected governments that may be politically unstable at times, and we have that roller coaster here in the States as well. But it's, I think, really, really smart for you to be kind of upfront and honest and help potential buyers think about the value proposition in different ways. The other thing you can't control is weather, and we know that in May you had torrential rains that impacted so many people there in southern Brazil. The human impact is obviously catastrophic, but want to get an update as to how the cluster is doing. How is it functioning? What's it looking like a number of months later? How is the recovery going so that our listeners can better understand that?
Well, Matt, we were really involved in that, specifically like Christian and I, we worked as volunteers, during the whole thing, and, it was really a catastrophic event, for us. It was terrible. I mean, I don't think there are images or words that can express what we went through. It was horrible. It was like 2 hours, like from 5 in the morning to 7, you would have an industry just under the water. It was really bad. And it happened to the whole state. I mean, there were areas not affected, of course, that, but we can tell that we had an amazing, help from not all over Brazil, but from all countries, helping our citizens, as volunteers with money, really, resources like financial resources, but the most amazing things, and perhaps we can share that video somehow with you, is the way that people work to reestablish the factories. That's something, we have some cases like near us here when people just, they got to the factory, like when the water, went down, and the way they worked to put the business up together, it was amazing. So, I mean, we are not 100%. I mean, I would be lying if I'd say we're 100%, but we are much stronger. Our people are much more united. I get emotional talking about it, because it's something amazing. And by the way, with that, we see other things happening, like in terms of innovation, as Andy mentioned, we've seen a lot of things regarding innovation. And, one important aspect, when we talk ESG, when we talk about social, when we talk about people, right? We found out on this catastrophic episode that we have been working so well, so positive with people that industries didn't have to ask people to help. When they were like, the water is down, we can go back to work. These people organized themselves without a leader. They did it for themselves to rebuild the business and regain their jobs. It was something awesome to see. And we can tell that not only about our industry here, the shoe industry, but all over the state. So we can tell you we are very well. We are much stronger, and we are much united, and we hope in a very short future from now, you can come here see that, with your own eyes, we want to invite you to come. So, you are invited. We just have to settle the date. And we want you to come here and to have more representatives from FBRA and, and its members to come and visit us so you can see it yourself.
Yeah, this is good. We the airport is still not working here, but we are waiting. We already invited you guys.
October 20th.
Yes, understand. Yeah.
Awesome.
And, then we are waiting for you 2025, then we'll have a chance to see everything that we are talking about, the factories, the products, the tanneries, the suppliers, so it's going to be a great opportunity for us to be together and to show you that what we are saying is something that is really feasible.
Yeah. Well, I like the ecosystem, and I like the work that you guys have done to facilitate your cluster, share information, share innovations. On the chemical compliance and sustainability stuff, there's no way a brand can do it alone. There's no way a factory can do it alone. It requires a group getting together to look at those things and address those holistically. And so yeah, we need to look at like January when it's cold here and we can fly down and have a nice time would it be springtime then?
It's
Springtime?
gonna be better, right?
Yeah. So the other thing that's really compelling to me is if I'm a brand thinking about this is allowing myself to be led by this group to go down and say, hey, like where are the opportunities that I could take advantage of for new types of product that I could incorporate in, new opportunities. Because I think sometimes, in this new age, we got this idea that we're going to create a product ourselves and take it to Asia and that's fine. I mean, that's how we've always done it. But it's really interesting to be a little bit more open to find opportunities where we're not trying to drive it ourselves, but allow ourselves to find some unique opportunities. And I think this is one of the places, especially with sustainability and chemical compliance, a lot less headaches. But I think to their point on what's happening is it's Brazil's in a different spot in their cluster, and I think we can find some very unique opportunities, Matt, that we don't consider because of past bias or past kind of something holding us back from looking at this opportunity.
Yeah, totally. I really agree, and I think our listeners should take another look at Brazil. And a lot of our listeners have been there, have engaged with it in years past, and I think it's time to get the band back together again, as they say.
Yeah, so we just need to pick. We need to pick some dates when there's some football being played, so we can go to a proper match and enjoy that, and take a look at some factories.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we want to build something different that was built in the past, and we are very well prepared for that. We want to offer new things and we want to see what you guys think, what the American market thinks that can be done together. That's the proposition, to build something together. We have something already developed, already adopted. So can we use that or not? If so, we can work in a co-development. If not, it can be at least an idea about what we can develop. I think this is important. This is an important thing about it.
Awesome. Yep. Well, folks, if you want to learn more about the Institute and the cluster, you can just contact us, and we're happy to introduce you to them. But this group was at our sourcing summit in New York, making contacts, having conversations. I mean, obviously, what they're saying is they're very open to co-development and helping people find opportunities. And in this day and age, when we're trying to relieve stress from Asia supply chains, it behooves us to take a look again and be open-minded and find some key ways of changing our models and the way we do business. So we appreciate you guys coming on and sharing and discussing about what you're doing, and we're excited to learn more. And I think we'll keep the conversation going. But as we kind of wrap up, you can go to shoeandshow.com for a full catalog of over 8 years of shows, I think, at this point. Tons of great conversation in the past. A lot of what we try to focus on is culture and know-how and innovation. And so we appreciate you listening. Every Monday, new episode drops, and keep an ear out for latest episodes as we start to head towards 2025. It sounds strange to say, but we're already on the back half of the year, folks. So and buckle up. Who knows what's going to happen. But again, appreciate you listening. And as always, until next time, Shoe In is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.